You are now watching the Amazing Mets pregame show with your hosts, Rob and CP.
Let's go Mets! Let's go Mets! Let's go Mets! Let's go Mets!
What's up, Mets fans? Welcome back to the Amazing Mets pregame show with myself and CP. We're about an hour late because of my stupidity and what's going on around where I am right now. But everybody, thank you for holding on and hanging out and waiting that extra hour, including Chris, by the way. But we get to talk about a dramatic win yesterday with JD Martinez, his first walk-off of his career. Who thought of that? Who would have ever thought of that? His first career walk-off was a New York Met at the age of what? Late 30s? That's amazing. And we got the series win. And I said it yesterday, Chris. I don't care how we do it, just win. You said just win. I said I don't care if it's a blowout. I don't care if it's a one-run ball game, late in the ball game. It happened, Chris. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing well. Thank goodness to the MLB script writers, whoever it is that scripted up the JD Martinez walk-off home run. But no, it's been great watching this team here over the last 8 games. Did a live stream earlier on my channel, just around two o'clock, somewhere around there. Appreciate everybody that's in here now that was able to tune in for that. Great stuff that we get to talk about here, and an even bigger opportunity for this Mets team tonight, starting a fresh series versus San Diego. A lot is at stake for this Mets team, even if it's only June 14th. So kind of going to rehash everything that I said in my previous live stream, but definitely want to get your thoughts and opinions on it. But yeah, Rob, I was concerned for your safety. It's not like Rob to no call, no show on these streams. He always lets me know hours in advance. So I was getting kind of worried. I was like, chat, like, I want to pivot, but I don't in case he comes back on. They were asking me to do a live stream. I was in the midst of propping up like a last minute slide here, but we got Rob back online. So let's talk some Mets baseball.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah, I was going nuts, man. I was like, what the hell am I going to do? Like, I was like ready to like take somebody else's phone and log into my account just to let you know what's going on. But I do appreciate that. But you know, we got some good Mets baseball to talk about as they're facing the San Diego Padres. And the Padres got a couple of wins against the A's. And I wouldn't say they played actually well. If you actually paid attention to their games, they kind of didn't really do much in those games. They won them, which that's all that matters. But this is a Padres team that still is struggling, right? Occasionally they have they have problems scoring runs. And that's been a problem with the New York Mets as well. So two teams are coming in here, at least over the course of the season, not being able to score runs when they need to score those runs. And they've played a lot of close games as well. So what are your thoughts on this San Diego Padres team? Are you worried about this series, or are you going in more confident than I guess you could say before the homestand? What are your thoughts on the Padres right now?
Well, I was going in confident with this team before the homestand. I was saying it before the series kicked off. I dropped a video, a pre-recorded episode saying, listen, it might be time to buy back even a sliver, right, into the New York Mets because they had the reinforcements coming. Francisco Alvarez, Edwin Diaz, who looked fantastic last night as well in his first inning back. And I was like, listen, this team's playing well. They still have a lot to improve upon, but at least we're starting to see sound baseball. Now, I didn't like game one of the Marlins series, obviously, because of the loss, and I didn't like what I saw for the majority of the game yesterday outside of what Luis Severino did, which is another superb outing by him, and he's been absolutely fantastic. But the offense, like you said, needs to get going. Yes, I am confident. It's skeptical optimism, but I'm still confident, just as I was heading into this homestand with the Marlins, now that we face the Padres. And listen, these are the teams you need to beat, right? The Padres being one of the teams you need to beat to get to where you really want to go and to prove all the naysayers wrong. You want to be in that wild card spot? Well, let's go take a series against a team that's where you want to be at right now. And I think someone said in the chat here, San Diego Padres have played more or less 5 more games than the Mets so far this season. But it really doesn't matter. To get to where you want to be, I'm going to say this throughout this whole entire series, whether we do a post game together or we do a pregame together or if we do a roundtable after that. We need to beat the teams that are directly in front of us. If that doesn't happen, then all this talk about playoffs and all that, it goes out the window. It starts with this Padres series tonight, Friday night, in front of the home crowd. Hopefully they get a decent crowd, regardless of being 30 and 37. And let's take a damn series. Just win, baby. That's it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I see a lot of people in the chat. Again, we're both not in New York, so apparently the weather is not good. It's raining, and I guess it's shitty weather, and that sucks. But our momentum, it feels like every time we try to get some momentum, something happens weather-wise, or off days. And let's hope we do play today. And if we do the post game, I think I'm going to do a post game today. If you wanna, but definitely we're going to really pay attention if this game's going to start. But yeah, you gotta win. Like, you gotta beat the teams directly in front of you, right? We had that opportunity last homestand with the Giants and the Diamondbacks, and we didn't do a very good job of that at all. And we have another opportunity to do it here. And the Padres are in a wild card spot. I said it time and time again that you have to make sure that you play your game, right? Even though yesterday we were getting no hit for what, 5 2/3 yesterday, they found a way to win. And we didn't say that enough with this Mets team. And I think they've been trying to find their way, or I guess you say find their way to win ball games at home. And that's how you start getting momentum at home, right? Find the ways to win at any means necessary, right? They found a way to win in the walk-off. They blew out the Marlins the other night as well, and that's what you want to see. And I hope this game gets played. I don't care what time it gets played, right? The Padres were off yesterday. They did fly in yesterday as well. So they're going to be here the next couple of days, so there might be a doubleheader, which probably I would say benefits the Padres, to be honest, because they get 2 straight days off, and the momentum for the Mets hopefully doesn't get cut off because if this game doesn't get played tonight. But yeah, you said exactly what I was thinking. You got to beat the teams ahead of you. Like, you ain't going anywhere, right? They finally got to 7 games under 500, which the last time they done that, I think it was like, my God, the beginning of before May. Like that's a long time. They kept on creeping up to 8 games under 500, and then they find their way back to 10 games under 500. So that's exactly what they need to do, Chris. And your poll with Sean Manaea, important start for Sean today, because he's been struggling to, get past the 5th inning. And he needs to do that. Not only get past the 5th inning, but pitch well getting past the 5th inning. I'm not saying go 8. Give me 6 innings, maybe finish the 5th inning and give our bullpen a little bit of rest, and we can get to the guys that we trust a little bit more in that bullpen. So if you get past the 5th inning, now you only have to worry about a couple more innings instead of, getting out in the 4 1/3, and now you got to use an extra pitcher that you probably don't trust. So, what are your thoughts on Sean Manaea since you put up that poll? How many innings he's going to go today?
Yeah, the last start that he had didn't really inspire too much confidence out of me, and I think that he's definitely been dropping off a little bit compared to what I'd like to see, especially with how he started off this regular season. I said in the live stream earlier today, I was like, listen, this guy's on a prove it deal for the 3rd straight time, I believe, if not at the very, very bare minimum, the 2nd straight year, right? Because last year with the Giants is a 1-year deal as well. And mid-year last year, he got moved to the bullpen, where he excelled, but he got pulled from the starting role in the rotation for quite obvious reasons. And I don't want to see that happen again this year, although the Mets would probably benefit from that because Brooks Raley's out for the year and you can just slot in a lefty. We've been saying that about David Peterson, but David Peterson's pitching fair now. So, there's a lot of things they can do. I agree with everybody I took a look at the poll here. A lot of people saying 5+ innings. I think it's the most logical. I'd love to see him break out of that slump though and get 6+ innings under his belt, especially against this Padres team. Now, I wasn't aware that this little weather delay, I looking at the radar, it doesn't look promising. So if anything, if the Mets do start, they'll probably start like 2 hours late. We'll see if they even wait for that to happen instead of just calling it a doubleheader. But I agree with you, that definitely does benefit the Padres for the simple fact of that, yes, the Mets momentum. Every single time they seem to have momentum, there's some sort of weather delay. In DC, it didn't really hinder them, but definitely against the St. Louis Cardinals earlier on this season, it definitely hindered them when they were kind of getting a little hot there. So that sucks. Was looking forward to doing maybe a post game. Hopefully they do play. We don't know. Hopefully they do play. But what I will say is, yeah, Sean Manaea needs to get it together. He needs to be his command is just off to me. Like his command is off. He's got a lot of movement still on that sweeper, but he can't really command it. And you see that even in the 0-2, 1-2 situations, we talked about it way, way, way before, right? Being competitive in those hitters or those pitchers counts. And that's simply what he hasn't been doing. I see too many times fastballs outside of the zone that aren't competitive. I see sweepers for him that move across the zone, but by the time it's done moving, it's almost at the batter's knees. So he's really got to hone in, especially on that sweeper, because that's his bread and butter. But on the flip side of things, I actually didn't even take a look at Matt Waldron for the Padres and what he has. And I just took a look at his Savant page and I was like, oh boy, 4 pitches that he uses very evenly, and his most dominant pitch, I wouldn't say dominant, but the pitch that he uses the most is a knuckleball. How many knuckleballers you see in the league now? So I don't know. This lineup's in for a surprise. They're in for a treat. It's a knuckleball sweeper fastball combination for Waldron. I don't know what to expect here. 4.30 ERA for Manaea, 3.96, I believe, or 3.76 for Waldron. It's a toss-up. But the thing is like, all these pitchers that we say the Mets should hit, they just play down to the competition. What do we say about the Roddery guy, whoever the hell was going for the Marlins the other night, right? In the pregame, we're like 5.95 ERA. Don't know a lick about the guy, but let's put some runs on the board. And man, did they fail to do that against him? So I don't know. It's kind of like, yes, we won the game, but the offense, the consistency of it or the lack thereof. 10 runs in the game before, and then you almost get no hit going into the 6th inning. Like, what big of a turnaround is that? And what should we be expecting on a nightly basis? So to round this whole rant out, because I know you asked about Sean Manaea, I'm not sure if I'm the most confident in Sean Manaea and Jose Quintana right now. Coincidentally, the 2 lefties are going to be in this series. So the Mets offense, if they plan to win this series, is going to have to come out swinging, because I don't think they can rely on either Quintana or Manaea for gems.
Yeah, absolutely. And it always seems like with Sean Manaea, it's one inning, right? He starts off very good, striking out a couple of batters, looking strong, and then there's one inning where either the defense makes a mistake and then he can't get out of an inning, or he loses the plate, and it always seems to be that one inning that hurts his overall, total stat line. And that's where I think he has to bear down. Like, regardless of what happens in that inning, if it's a defense or he loses the plate, I don't know if it's Jeremy Hefner coming out when he sees first signs of, a little bit of a little bit of a scary situation in an inning. Like, Hefner can't come out after he gives up 4 runs and says, "Oh, let me go talk to this guy." I think they have to give him a breather. Like, if he walks a guy or two, all right, go out there and talk to him. Like, calm him down a little bit, because it seems like he loses it mentally on the mound. Like, and he either walks people or he gives up, hard hit balls after he doesn't get the job done in certain spots of an inning, and it completely blows up. And then you're wondering, like, what the hell happened to Manaea? And now you got to go deep into your bullpen. So, you're 100% right. Manaea's got to do his job, but the offense really has to come through here. They can't be as inconsistent as they were in the Marlins series. Can't score 10 and then score 3 and, getting no hit prior to the 6th inning. So they have to come together and start scoring damn runs. Like, the Padres can score runs, even though they've had trouble. We know how their lineup is dynamic. We know that they can score a ton of runs, especially if a guy like Manaea loses it. And, they can put the bat on the ball. I think they're one of they're like mid-level in strikeouts, so they don't strike out a lot. And I'm not saying Manaea is a big strikeout guy, but he's been pitching more to contact lately, and that's what scares me a little bit, because you said it about his sweeper. If his bread and butter pitch isn't working, he ain't striking nobody out. And, put him back the ball, and this team can do that. he's going to find himself in a lot of trouble most likely, unless he's able to get those ground balls to, that he could possibly get. But if that sweeper's not working, it could be a long night either for him and the Mets or just him and himself. And now we got to go to deepen that bullpen, Chris.
Yeah, and I see Frank's asking me what I'd like to do with Quintana. At some point, I mean, you would hope to trade him and get any sort of value back at front for him. I don't think that's going to happen though. So I think that they might, if he continues to do what he's been doing, which is nothing, you're going to have to just DFA him because they're going to have to open up this roster spot, Rob. Like that roster spot that Quintana, and you're not going to, I'm sorry, I know maybe the popular answer is instead of throwing Sean Manaea in the bullpen, let's toss Quintana out in the bullpen. I'm going to have a question for everybody who even trusts in Quintana in later leverage situations out of the bullpen. Like, I'm not entrusting him in any late game situation, minus maybe if it's a laugher. So I would be fine with just DFAing him. I'm not going to lie to you. And I don't really say that often, but I don't see a world where anybody, any team in this league gives up anything of significance now if they value a veteran clubhouse presence, and maybe the Mets value that presence. We don't know. Maybe that's why they're going to stick with him. I don't know. Nobody knows, but I could tell you his on-field performance right now, it's DFA worthy, especially when you got a couple of candidates to come up and truly help this team and give you competitive starts, or at least we would hope, right? Because we want to watch those guys. And so yeah, that's my I guess spiel on Quintana. Listen, I mean, we expected something completely different than what he's been giving us. We expected consistency. We expected consistency out of Hauser, and coincidentally, those are the two guys that haven't given us any consistency. One already got booted to the bullpen. We'll see what they do with the other. I saw someone else up in the chat talking about how the Padres are even better this year than in years prior. I don't know if I believe that. I don't know if I believe that they're better. I mean, I think they stayed stagnant. And they're trying, like, that comment was almost written in a way that the Mets should be scared of the Padres. Nobody's scared of the Padres. Let's be real with you. Yes, they have had the Mets number in the past couple of years, but you know what? You can toss all that out the window because it's 2024. It's the first meeting between the two teams. And you know what? The Mets are in front of the home crowd. And I would just hope that the Mets realize what's at stake here in terms of the actual momentum of what they have going on right now. They have no room to work with, Rob. We say this every single chat, every single stream. They got no room to work with. Stack series wins. That's
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? There's one word for the San Diego Padres. They underperformed. All the signings they have done, all the trades they have made, I mean, they also traded Juan Soto this offseason. So, they've completely underperformed. And, listen, kudos to the owner before he passed away to spend all that money and try to win. And the family tried to win before he passed away. And, kudos to that. They tried, right? It didn't work, but they're still finding ways to, add on in a different way by trading Soto and getting a ton of pitching that was lacking over the last couple of seasons as well. But they are a team that has majorly overperformed, right? This team was trying to challenge the division against the Dodgers, and they haven't even becoming close. They're barely getting in wild cards. So they've underperformed big time. Like, let's not act like this Padres team has been one of the best teams in baseball when they never have. Right? Yeah, they had the Mets number over the last couple of seasons, but that's it. Around the league, they should be better than what they are. They shouldn't be 2 games over 500. If you watch the game, I watched a lot of those games just with the Padres and the A's. The A's had chances to win 2 out of 3. Like, they didn't play well in that series. They found a way to win. So that's the most important thing. But this is the team that I think are mentally soft. We talk about the Mets being mentally soft. The Padres are a mentally soft team. If you get in their heads and you get to them early, and I think this is key, Chris, scoring runs early, I think puts this team. I think you bury that team because they're a team that we always talk about the Mets. They're so mentally soft that when things are going wrong, it keeps on spiraling, and it seems like you keep on digging a deeper hole every single time. The Padres do the exact same thing. And you know what? They're supposed to be better than the Mets, right? Many times, just based on roster itself. They're supposed to be a lot better than the Mets, but they're mentally soft as well. Once things are not going their way, it crumbles for them. And I think that's what the Mets have to do here. They got to play the mental game. right? Both of these teams are mentally soft. We're going to definitely say that for sure. But the Mets need to play that mental game. And if you score early on this team, the batters start to strike out more. The batters start squeezing the bat more. They completely fall apart in games. And I think that's what the Mets have to do.
Carlos, drive safe first and foremost. We appreciate you. That's dedication to the Amazing Mets pregame show. We love to hear that. Daniel, Luis Arias, and Jurickson Profar. That man is having a tremendous season. I am definitely afraid of those two bats because Profar and Arias have done extremely well against the Mets over the years, especially in that 2022 Wild Card Series. Profar, my goodness, he killed the Mets. And so did Trent Grisham, by the way, who's now a Yankee. But nonetheless, I actually wanted Jurickson Profar the year after. I believe he hit free agency. Nobody took a bite on him. Instead, he just went to the Rockies very, very late. And obviously that didn't go too well. But now he's back to his old stomping grounds, absolutely tearing it up. But I wanted to address here what Jeremy's saying about Christian Scott potentially being called back up after the All-Star game. I would hope not. And this is the thing, and I wanted to get your thoughts and opinions on this, Rob, because I've exhausted this, and I've almost like shied away from this topic because everyone told me it was procedural. Oh, they're watching out for his innings, right? Whatever, because they're going to have to pitch him a lot down the stretch of the season. I understand all that, but he's pitched collectively 9 innings down in the minor leagues. Now let's take it with a grain of salt because his pitch count has been down in both of those starts that he made in AAA Syracuse after being sent down this last go round before the London series. But I just find it very hard to believe that you're in this position if you're the Mets and you're going to keep relying on the same guys that continuously and habitually fail you, especially to give you length when you have Christian Scott right then and there to send him down because of an innings limit that was not even set up according to Anthony DeComo of MLB.com prior to the season starting. I remember an article written by Anthony DeComo. Now, I know a lot of people have opinions on multiple beat writers that write for the Mets. About the Mets, I understand that, but something's fishy going on with this whole Christian Scott situation. Now, I'm not doubting that he's going to be back up way sooner than that All-Star break, I guess, point that Jeremy's talking about. But him losing at this point 2 starts or 2 go-rounds of the rotation definitely doesn't sit right with me. And the excuse of why he went down in the first place, because it's procedural for innings limit to save him, also doesn't make much sense to me because he made 2 starts for AAA in that same time period with a collective 9 innings pitched. Now, listen, I'm going to rest my case there. I've never been a fan of that move. I never will. I do think that regardless of what we heard about the innings limit, I think it was because Jorge Lopez coincidentally got DFA'd for the antics on the field, and they had to save face by calling up a reliever. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it because you're not going to convince me otherwise. Now, I know a lot of people might disagree. A lot of people have disagreed, and that's fine, but that's all I'm going to say about that situation. But no, I agree with you. Listen, the Padres are underperforming. The Mets, in my estimation, and all of our estimations with where we had them at, finishing with 85, 86 wins during our season preview, are also underperforming. Now, I will say these are definitely 2 mentally soft teams. But we all know teams have get-right games against the Mets, especially at Citi Field. So let's not make that happen this go-around. And, you take a look at this lineup. I definitely want to get into the bullpen, but let's just talk about the lineup real quickly here. You see Jeff McNeil gets the start there at second base, hitting in a 9-hole. You see Tyrone Taylor's there, back after his last performance, right? I love that Tyrone Taylor move coming off of 4 hits 2 games ago in that middle game against the Marlins. Vientos is back in there. He's also hitting over 300. Alvarez is back in there. So I like this lineup. Yes, I would like to see Jose Iglesias consistently play over Jeff McNeil. But I really think that, and I said this on my post game a couple days ago when I went on with Nick from the He Did This to Me podcast, I was like, no matter how many different lineup combinations Carlos Mendoza can throw out there, there's going to be games where they score 10 runs and everyone's taking victory laps because they just so happen to switch the lineup. And then we get to the next game, like MEZ's saying, and they lay an egg. Like, the consistency, no matter what combination this lineup is thrown out there with, that's been the problem. And until they turn it around, you're not going to tell me the Mets put up 10 runs because all of a sudden Brandon Nimmo got switched to the 2-hole. He's been just as equally crap in his last 2 games in the 3-hole or the 2-hole as he was in the 3-hole. So it doesn't really matter. One thing's for certain, though, and I said this on our pregame: if you're expecting Brandon Nimmo to drop to like 6-7 in the lineup, keep dreaming, because it's not going to happen. Carlos Mendoza and this front office are not going to do that. No matter what combination you see there at the top 4, those are the top 4, and they're going to stick with it until otherwise. And if they do deviate away from that, I'm going to be very, very shocked, and I'll be the first one to come up on here and tell you all that I'm wrong. But that's just how I'm seeing that. And I wouldn't even call it stubbornness, because I think it was either you or somebody else said, do you expect those 4 guys to bat anywhere else? Like, do you really expect them to with the rest of the names in these lineups? In this lineup? I don't.
No.
So, I don't know, man. I don't know what your take on that is, but I'm like, people keep talking about, let's switch the lineup here, let's switch the lineup there. I love it. I love changes. Changes are awesome sometimes. We've seen it 10 countless of times already this season, and it's the same result. So let's just start preaching about the actual, I guess, talent level of this team and actually producing, right, to the back of their baseball cards. Like, Rob, your favorite saying is, hits in the back of your baseball card, which sounds silly because we can sit up here and say it 10 times in a day. How about they actually do it? Because a lineup change isn't going to help that. I'm sorry. Not at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, this offense has been very lackluster this season, and they've lost most of their games because of the offense, either in big spots or just didn't show up at all. So again, you play to the back of your baseball card. This team should be a lot better, and you're hoping they're starting to trend towards that, because you've seen, besides Brandon Nimmo, everybody's starting to like. Well, even though Pete Alonso, I don't know, where he's at right now, but I always feel like Pete Alonso always goes on this one big hot streak, especially before the second half ends, right before the All-Star break. He usually goes on his big hot streak, and we're hoping he does, because if he starts hitting, and if Nimmo finds it, I mean, with Marte hitting and Vientos playing well and Alvarez being back, I mean, that would be amazing for this lineup, and we need it right now. So, Pete Alonso and Brandon Nimmo better start going here, because if it wasn't for the bottom of the order, I said this a lot of times, the supporting cast, this team would be probably 20 games under 500, and I'm not even joking about that. That's how
Or
bad.
Martinez, for that matter, too.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely, and that's the biggest problem. They gotta start doing well together, and that's the most important thing. But I want to give a shout out to Mendoza. Putting Tyrone Taylor back in after his performance yesterday was outstanding. I think it was so important for Mendoza, and you see that he likes to play the hot hand now. And it's not just about analytics; it's not about matchups. Taylor's looked good; he's playing, and I love that. And I know people are complaining about Jeff McNeil still. I'd rather see Iglesias as well, but I still believe that they're better than Knight now. So I mean, he was 5-6 earlier in the season, and now he dropped to 7-8, 8-9, and he's one step closer from never playing in the starting lineup again. Like, he's that close. And I think what they're trying to do, they're trying to get some type of spark from him, either to get a little bit more value from him while helping the team in this lineup. I think they're trying to get any value for him.
Or on the other hand, it could be that, or they can just be showcasing him and saying, hey, listen, we've tried every spot in the lineup. See you later. Brett Baty, come up and play second base until Luis Angel Acuna is ready. It could be the flip side of the coin, too.
Yeah, I mean, hey, if Brett Baty comes out, I mean, God, if this guy can hit in the majors, would be nice. I mean, he goes right down to AAA and starts hitting balls over the wall, hitting balls in the gap. The Brett Baty that everybody thought he would be when he came up from the minors. I mean, it would be nice if he can hit major league pitching. I don't think he can. I think it's been long enough where I think he just can't figure it out for whatever reason, or it's the pressure. I don't know. But yeah, I just don't know. I really don't know how it's going to go, actually, because I don't want Jeff McNeil in the lineup anymore. I think he is a downer in this lineup. I think every time he plays, the Mets seem to get lost. Again, that's not all Jeff McNeil's fault. Everybody else has their own at-bats. But it just feels like Jeff McNeil brings the lineup down some way, somehow when he's in there. And with Iglesias playing well, I wouldn't even play games anymore, honestly. Like you can't afford to lose games now. Unfortunately, you get into that point where you almost a little more than a month until the trade deadline. You can't mess around with these victories here or these possible victories, because if you do, guess what? You're going to be selling at the deadline, and that's nobody wants to deal with that. And they probably do some type of sell off, maybe like who knows. But I don't think they're going to be major buyers. I do think it's addition by subtraction is probably what I think they could do if they remain in this, Chris. But yeah, Jeff McNeil needs to be the hell out of here, and maybe they are giving Jeff McNeil this last opportunity before Brett Beatty feels comfortable enough at second. And I think they would bring him up because the Beatty-Iglesias combination, I think, is a hell of a lot more better than Jeff McNeil and Iglesias. I think they're trying to push Jeff McNeil in this lineup as much as possible because of his contract, because he is one of the homegrown guys, which I can't stand. I think he don't deserve to be in this lineup. And I think this is just a matter of time. If you don't get it together, you're going to see Beatty-Iglesias being a platoon here at second base, in my opinion.
Or, I mean, who? Oh, I guess Vientos is third baseman. So sorry. Yeah, I agree with you. I absolutely agree with you. Two things here. Anybody in New York? I know it's in rain delay right now. Is there any chance that this game gets played before I waste my time waiting for 2 hours for the game to start? Please, someone look at the radar. Hector, I'm looking at you because I know off the bat that you're in New York and I don't know if you're out there playing softball right now or you're actually waiting for this game or going to the game. So you let me know. And two, that's actually funny because Joel's saying in the chat here that Mr. Pat Hoberg and MLB umpires getting disciplined for betting, but he denies betting on baseball. And I think that this is just the tip of the iceberg in terms of what we actually know. Like across all sports, and I hate to make this a rant because we're going to talk about the bullpen next. I really want to talk about this bullpen because I think that I get it that they've been struggling, but there's some firepower there. That I think, officials across all major league sports, whether it's basketball, definitely in the NBA for sure, and MLB. Like, I don't want to be that conspiracy theorist, but come on, like we know these guys are betting on games. Like, let's be real here. And I don't want to call out the integrity of the game, but this is like these guys are human beings too. Like, and you see with baseball players nowadays, they just suspended the guy from the Padres for life for betting on baseball. I believe on the Padres or on his own game. So I don't know. I think you'll see a lot more of these stories coming out. And I just want to say that I actually just looked up on my X account. Jeff Passan tweeted it out with that update. But so there you go. Hector's sitting right outside the stadium. What's the deal? Is it raining? Is it looking bad? Or like what's the vibes? Tell me. I don't know. I'd love to know because obviously we're not in New York right now, Rob. Neither of us. So it's sunny skies right now, and I got stuff to do. But nonetheless, bullpen. Oh, also, I was going to say, the Padres lineup isn't bad, Rob. It's not bad. I'm looking at the stats and what they have for a starting lineup. Like, that team can hit. They got some firepower there. So, Sean Manaea and Jose Quintana better bring their A game, like we said, because that Padres lineup, like, they can put up some runs. Like, it's not a question if they have before or not. They can, right? And they're performing well, at least individually. This bullpen, though, wow, if we get what we got out of Edwin Diaz last night, if we can continue to see that version of Edwin Diaz, that's got to be like a massive weight off his shoulders. And you saw Francisco Lindor kind of giving him a half hug coming off the field yesterday. I mean, that is going to pay dividends to this bullpen because Reed Garrett is going to be able to be slotted elsewhere instead of that closer role. You've got Daniel Nunez, who just pitched 2 1/3 inning a couple games ago. And he got 5 strikeouts. He has absolutely electric stuff. I know Danny Young got sent down because they needed to make some room for Edwin Diaz, but you got him waiting in the wings, and he's looked absolutely fantastic as well. So, my goodness. I think that this bullpen, if Edwin Diaz gets it together after this IL stint, I think we're in business. I think we're cooking. I'm not going to lie to you. And honestly, I know Drew Smith gave up a home run his last outing, but he also struck out 3. He's been like looking pretty solid, pretty decent as well. So we'll see what happens. I think this bullpen's on the mend, hopefully. Lord willing.
Listen, if Diaz can perform like he did yesterday, and like you said, Lindor gave him that hug. Look, I think it's all about confidence when it comes to Edwin Diaz. If he's confident with his pitching on the mound and confident on the mound, I think he's going to be lights out. And that helps the bullpen tremendously. Like it just slots everybody back down a slot, and that helps everybody. That even helps the terrible part of the bullpen, like the Ottavinos of the world and others that aren't going to have to pitch the 8th inning or the 7th inning or possibly the 9th inning. It's a big deal. And, with Garrett getting slot down, Nunez, who can possibly be a setup guy because he has outstanding stuff. Danny Young's going to come up at some point as he was pitching well. And Drew Smith, yeah, he's been good this year. But prior to getting hurt, he was one of our best relief pitchers. Like, let's be honest about that. And if Drew Smith is going to be your 6th inning guy, maybe 7th inning guy, hey, along with Reed Garrett, I'm okay with that because Drew Smith has pitched well this year. And I know most of my fans don't want to see Drew Smith anymore. Easy, I know, talked about Drew Smith for a while, and a lot of people has. In the offseason, a lot of people didn't want Drew Smith on this team. But when you have a young guy, and I know he's been with the Mets for a while, but when you have that live arm, a lot of teams don't like to get rid of those guys because they're always potential. This guy's not 36 years old where you can just throw him to the wolves and say, all right, we can just forget about him. Let's bring somebody else up. He's young enough, and he's still got an elite arm that everybody believed that if he just finds it, he can be one of the better bullpen arms in baseball. That's how good his stuff is. He just has to harness it a little bit. And it seems like he's doing more of that because I don't think he's pitching 2 strikeouts anymore. I think he's pitching a contact, even though he's striking out, I believe, more guys in his career than any other year up until this point. And I think because he's not overthrowing as much as he did in the past. And I think that's important for Drew Smith because when he starts overthrowing, that slider gets very flat. That slider hangs. It's a frisbee. And that's what you don't want to see from Drew Smith. Hasn't done that a lot. Again, every bullpen arm is going to give up home runs. Every bullpen arm is going to have a tough couple of outings. And you just hope that they can figure it out. And Drew Smith, I always like Drew Smith's stuff, right? I guess nobody likes the homegrown talent there, right? It's only because, he's a bullpen arm. I guess nobody cares. So, but he is one of our homegrown guys, right? They're going to give him every opportunity. And because his stuff is elite, if he can put it all together, that's another bullpen arm that I think the Mets can trust. And you know what? To be honest, guys, let's start trusting Drew Smith because he's been good this year, guys. And, Chris said it. Diaz did what he did yesterday is only going to make this bullpen better if he continues that because now we got our 9th inning guy back. Now we got a closer back. That is everything to this Mets team that really hasn't had Diaz all year with any type of confidence. So I 100% agree. Diaz being Diaz is going to make this bullpen better regardless of how well the other guys perform because they get slotted down, Chris.
I know this isn't saying much, and I'm picking the lesser of 2 evils, but if you ask me to entrust in the game somebody, and my options are Drew Smith and Adam Ottavino, I'm picking Drew Smith all day long. And I know it's not saying much, but listen, Adam Ottavino's on the chopping block. That guy can get out of here like yesterday. I'm sorry. Never wanted him back. Think he's a great clubhouse guy, probably one of the leaders, well respected. I understand all of that. He isn't got it anymore. I'm sorry. We can't keep trotting out Adam Ottavino, and he can't be the setup man. He's not even going to be in consideration for even the setup man with the way that Daniel Nunez is playing. Like the setup is going to be Daniel Nunez and you're going to have Edwin Diaz. Those are the 2 guys you can't break them up right now, right? Because they've already entrusted Edwin Diaz and made him the closer regardless of what happened, right? Before he came back or as soon as he came back. So those are your setup guys and your closers right there. Those 2 guys. Then you got to pick between who's going out for that 7th inning. Is that where you trust Adam Ottavino? My answer is probably still not. Is that where Drew Smith's going to be more serviceable there, even though he gets with the long ball? Maybe. Sean Reed Foley, I don't know. Like, and then Bryce Montes de Aca, everybody's in the chat here talking about him. He throws gas. That's just another reinforcement that they have waiting in the wing. Because I'm gonna tell you this right now, Adam Ottavino is not going to be on this team for too much longer. I'm sorry. You just can't have, like, we've seen it countless of times. And Rob, like, I know going back to the offseason, you wanted him to be here, but for me, it was a real head scratcher why they brought him back. Like, I understood why, but I was kind of like, ooh, like, really? Like, in all the videos I did about the bullpen free agent candidates, I didn't even include him in it because I was like, okay, bygones are bygones. See ya. I don't know.
Well, you know what Ottavino, like I was never expecting him to be the 7th, 8th, or even 9th inning guy. Like I thought he was going to be in the middle of the game type of guy. Like I didn't expect, especially with David Stearns being in control of this bullpen and how he likes to have guys with options. I thought he was going to, continue to like move around guys here and there. I didn't, again, we expected Diaz to come back, right? We were going to probably, they were going to trust Drew Smith because they clearly like him. Sean Reed-Foley was supposed to be a big part of this prior to him early in the season when he wasn't here, and now he's back. I didn't feel like Ottavino was going to be a late inning guy as coming back because they did kind of get him later in the offseason that I expected. I wasn't expecting him to. I didn't think the Mets were going to bring him back, but where they had to use him was a problem because of the Diaz situation, a couple of guys getting hurt, and other guys not performing. They had to use Ottavino in bigger spots that I've never trusted him in, and I wasn't expecting him to be an a big 8th inning guy, or definitely a closer. If he pitches in the 8th or 9th inning, turn your TV off. That's something that I never, fought on. Like, never saying he was going to be that type of guy. I just think that if you let's see now when the bullpen is kind of, if you notice, the bullpen is starting to get lined up better now. Everybody's having their slots most likely. I think Mendoza already has his slots on where he's going to pitch certain guys. If Ottavino is going to be a guy who might come in the 6th inning and maybe occasionally pitch that an extra batter who might be a right-handed batter in the 7th inning, but never deeper than that. I think that's where you're going to see him now. Maybe in the 5th inning, if the pitcher can't get out of the 5th, you might see him. But the 5th to 6th inning is where Ottavino's got to be. Anything deeper in the game than that, I worry because I don't think he can do it. At least not anymore.
I've got like 4 different guys that I trust over Adam Ottavino right now. I think the way, and obviously the Brooks Raley injury hurts because this bullpen would have been so much deeper with just him just being a part of this pen at this point of the season. But maybe we might not find out about a guy like Danny Young or Daniel Nunez if he's still here. So it's kind of like glass half full, half empty with the way you want to look at it. But I don't know. I would say the way that I'd approach it right now is you flip flop back and forth between maybe Sean Reed-Foley and Drew Smith as your 6th inning guy. I'd give the 7th to Reed Garrett. I'd give the 8th to Daniel Nunez, and I'd give the 9th to Edwin Diaz. And obviously, Jake Diekman being that lefty in the pen, you toss in there for matchups anywhere in between. But that's how I would do it. And Adam Ottavino, as you can tell, and as you just heard, is not a part of that equation. I'm sorry. It's like rinse and repeat. Like, how many times are we going to repeat ourselves and watch the same results? That is the definition of insanity. Leadoff single, Adam Ottavino gives up. Automatic steal of 2nd. Hell, maybe even 3rd, depending on what happens there. Or they can just sack bunt the guy over and score an easy run. That automatic 2nd base that they get for free, whether he walks the guy because his control hasn't been there either, or just a hit in general, is just an absolute backbreaker. And honestly, you can make that equivalency with the Drew Smith home runs. But then again, at the end of the day, like I said, if I had to pick the lesser of 2 evils, I'm still going Drew Smith. But the reason why I said Reed Garrett for the 7th inning is because I also still don't trust Drew Smith in high leverage situations as well until, like Hector said, he proves us wrong, or he proves us differently. That's what I should say. So, no, I agree, though. I think, though, that the bullpen, if they stick to a combination, if they get out of the stubbornness, right? If they realize and internalize that they don't need to have Adam Ottavino appearing in the 7th, 8th, 9th inning, like you just said, maybe like a 5th inning or a 6th inning, I think that works a lot better. And I think that this pen would be, like I said, on the mend now that Edwin Diaz, presumably, this is presuming that Edwin Diaz builds off of what we saw yesterday and takes that with him forward and carries over. I think that I'm a lot more confident in this bullpen with that happening.
Yeah, absolutely. And Daniel said it in the chat. He trusts Hauser over Ottavino. I think that's obvious for everybody. Like,
he's been doing well too out of the pen.
Yep, and that's another thing. Like, Adrian Hauser was one of our back end rotation guys, and Stearns put his ego aside and says, "Hauser, you're going to the bullpen." And he's been pretty damn good. And that's a big bolster because if Adrian Hauser can be that, that long man in the bullpen or in a big spot, because I have no problem him being in a big, somewhat of a big spot, throwing him in the 7th inning. If the matchups work out, I would put him there if that happens, depending on how many guys pitched the day before as well. But Hauser's been outstanding. And, that goes for Sean Manaea as well. Like, I mean, I think it's a fight right now. Either Manaea or Quintana is going to be out of this rotation for Christian Scott very, very soon. And one of those guys are going to the bullpen. And it's probably going to be Sean Manaea, only because of the fact that Sean Manaea has been successful in the bullpen. And I'm not sure what you would get for Quintana, putting him in the bullpen. So the Mets might stick with Quintana, unfortunately. Probably nobody wants to see that, but I think that's the route they might go, unfortunately. But I think that's the point where they're going to probably use Manaea in the bullpen if he doesn't really figure it out very, very soon. But your final thoughts, Chris. Again, 3-game series against the Padres, a big series for this Mets team. This is an opportunity, if you want this fan base to start getting a little confidence in this ball club going forward with about a month and a half until the deadline. What does this team have to do besides winning? What do they have to do to win those ball games against the Padres?
I think, like you said, like this is to a T, but this is not rocket science. This is something that we've been saying all season long. Please just score earlier. Just score earlier. Put up runs in the first inning. Well, you know what? Scratch that. You don't have to do it in the first inning, second inning, third inning. I don't care. Let's not wait until the 7th inning to scratch off only 1 run with bases loaded, 0 outs, because that was abysmal as well. That started with Starling Marte in that double play. Let's put up runs early and often. And honestly, I think the only way to sort of, I guess, accomplish what you're saying is just find a way to get Jose Quintana out of here, because Daniel said it in the chat earlier. Every single time his name pops up, it's like we're expecting a non-competitive game because he just simply doesn't have it as well. I think he's the Adam Ottavino of this starting rotation. So find a way to clear that roster spot, and I guess bring back up Christian Scott, or I don't know. However you want to work it. However, whatever personnel you want to do. You want to put in there. So that's what my 2 keys are. Get Quintana out of here and score early and often. I think that is like pretty self-explanatory. I don't think that's rocket science. I really don't. And I guess the other key is I think really what this lineup is missing is Pete Alonso can do whatever he does, right? He can go out there. If he doesn't want his money, he can keep performing like this. And I know that we've eluded the Pete Alonso rant this whole entire stream, and I'm so thankful for it because I don't want to talk Pete Alonso. But what I will say is that the key to this lineup isn't even Pete Alonso in my mind. I think that Brandon Nimmo has a bigger task at hand, has a bigger impact in this lineup than a Pete Alonso. So to make that point there, what I'm simply saying in simple terms is that if Brandon Nimmo gets it going, I'd much rather see him pick it up because I think he's more valuable to this lineup right now with the way things are than a Pete Alonso. That's not discrediting Pete Alonso. I understand what he's able to do when he's on top of his game. I'm just saying this lineup takes a huge leap forward if Brandon Nimmo gets it going, and he hasn't found that groove yet. And Stoney, to your question, on the radar, it looks like it's pouring right now, and Hector can confirm that. He also said that it looks like there's a pocket at like 9 p.m. where they can play, but it's scheduled to rain all night. So we'll see if this game even gets in. I would love for this game to be played because, like you said, the Mets are riding the wave right now. They're riding a hot streak. But Mother Nature just can't deny sometimes. So, if we do play, let's win. If we don't, hopefully I got a busy day tomorrow. Hopefully, I'm not sure what your scheduling is, Rob. We can talk offline about a potential stream, but we'll figure out a way to make something happen this weekend, whether it's during the series or after with the roundtable, etc. Thank you all for being here. I definitely appreciate it. I got to bounce here in just a second after you say your final thoughts. Hit that thumbs up, and I'm gonna go look at all the poll that you all went and submitted your results on or your answers on my live stream. So I appreciate it. Let's go Mets. And like I said yesterday, win.
Absolutely. And Brandon Nimmo is the key here. If he gets going, this whole lineup's going to get better. 100% on that. Nimmo is the key, and he's probably more important right now than Pete Alonso, just where we slot in the lineup right now. So with that said, let's get the victories if they do play today. If not, there's a long day ahead tomorrow with a doubleheader most likely if they don't get to play later tonight with the bad weather in New York right now. So with that said, guys, thank you for tuning into another Mets pregame show. Win, win, win. All you got to do is just win, just like Chris says. Just win. Any means necessary. Doesn't matter how. Just do it. Best case scenario, take a series against the Padres. Hopefully, I don't want a doubleheader tomorrow. I think that's going to be just annoying for Mendoza and the Mets. You got to use a ton of pitching. You don't want to do that. Hopefully, they got to wait this game rain out and play tonight. We'll see how that goes. So with that said, everybody have a great night. Let's go Mets, and let's get a victory tonight, hopefully, if they do play. So have a great night, guys. Let's go Mets.
Let's go Mets.